On this episode of What's Going On with Shipping, ship registries are closing themselves off from the dark fleet. I'm your host, Sal Mercogliano. Welcome to today's episode. So, a subject we talk about here a lot is the dark fleet. This is the ghost fleet, the shadow fleet, or the parallel fleet. This is the fleet of vessels that are carrying Russian, Iranian, Venezuelan oil that is under sanctions by a variety of different entities out among the world. Well, we just had a news story come out from G Captain about Panama closing themselves off. We're going to take a look at that, discuss it in some more detail, and let you know what this means to you. If you're new to the channel, hey, take a moment, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so be alerted about new videos as they come out. So here's the story over at G Captain Mike Schuller. Panama closes registry to older oil tankers and bulkers amid the shadow fleet concerns. Panama Ship Registry will no longer accept the registration of oil tankers or bulk carriers that are more than 15 years old. These are vessels from the so-called ghost or shadow fleet. So what do we mean by the ghost or shadow fleet? Well, basically what we're discussing here is ships that are carrying oil that are under sanctions from the G7, the EU, a variety of different entities. And more importantly, in the case of Russia, since February of 2022, when Russia invaded Ukraine, there has been a prohibition on the hauling of Russian oil and diesel over a set price, what's known as the price cap. $60 for oil, $100 for diesel, although that recently changed. Now we're on this kind of a flexible system that's 15% below the standard cost of oil out there. I don't even know how they're going to enforce that. But the mechanism that the G7, the EU, and all these other countries were using was insurance. They basically got the 12 big P&I, protection and indemnity clubs out there in the world to sit there and say, hey, don't insure ships carrying Russian oil or diesel if they're over the price cap. And that should work, except for one thing. The Russians have seen how sanction invasion has been going on in the past. Venezuela, Iran have been doing this. And what they did is they got other ships to carry it. Initially, they would find companies, insurance companies out there that would insure them beyond the 12 P&I clubs. Well, when they couldn't get ships to be registered under the big registries out there, they went and found some new registries, or in some cases, just created new registries. And the ships are not pulling into ports to be inspected under what's called port state control. This is the requirement set up by the International Maritime Organization that nations can inspect vessels of other nations to ensure they're meeting minimum standards of sailing. And what you basically have now are ships sailing out in the world's oceans. They're rendezvousing with ships at anchorages off Spain, Greece, and Malaysia, doing ship-to-ship transfers. And these ships have no registry. There's no country that's registering them, or if they do have a registry, it's a fake or very minimally managed registry. There may be insurance or no insurance whatsoever. There's no classification society overseeing them because that's what the insurance usually requires. And you have the danger of ships sailing on the world's oceans that can be massive environmental time bombs waiting to happen. So let's take a look at this and discuss it in a little more detail here. This is a little more of the story from Mike Schuller. According to the Panama Maritime Authority, this is the registry for Panama, these shadow fleets primarily consist of aged oil tankers with OPEC ownership structures that are often underinsured and employ unsafe practices to circumvent international sanctions. The decision follows an analysis of inspection data showing that 71% of fleet arrests between 2023 and the first half of 2025 involve bulk carriers, general cargo vessels, and oil tankers over 15 years old. Panama has the trifecta of all maritime things. They are probably one of the major players out there in the world. What do I mean? Well, you have Arsenio Dominguez here on the right. He is the Secretary General of the International Maritime Organization. Panama is the second largest register of ships in the world, 8,810 flagships, 241.1 million gross registered tons, according to the Panamanian Registry. And the Panama Canal, which has defied drought issues last year, recorded its best year ever with $3.45 million in revenue. That's a 9.5% increase over last year. So again, the trifecta, one of the largest ship registries, Secretary General of the IMO, and the Panama Canal, which is hitting record numbers there. All of that is leading to Panama sitting there saying, hey, we're not going to register vessels over 15 years of age. Now, I actually think there's something else going on behind the scenes. I'm going to share that with you at the end. But this is a major thing. Now, I do have an issue with the story. Other states have been doing this, in particularly the largest registry in the world, Liberia. This story from the Liberian registry, their CEO, Alfonso Castellero, announces the launch of RISC, a new tool to strengthen maritime compliance. Now, this is back in August of last year. This was done in Washington, D.C., in a press conference that was supported by the U.S. Department of State, along with other registries and embassies from around the world. RISC is the Registry Information Sharing Compact database. It allows flag registries to share and research information on problem vessels that may be evading regulations or engaging in suspicious activities. By sharing this data, flag registries can be informed, eliminate risk, and prevent flag hopping when under investigation. According to Mr. Castellero, quote, the Registry Information Sharing Compact database marks a significant advancement in our collective efforts to maintain the integrity and security of global shipping. With this platform, we are strengthening our defenses and working together to uphold the highest standards of compliance and safety. Now, the reason I can say that the Liberian Registry is doing this is I just came back from the Liberian Registry. I flew Wednesday to the Liberian Registry to give a talk, a part of their Lisker Academy, where they bring in subject matter experts to talk about things regarding shipping. I gave a talk to them and their offices worldwide. I should note that the Liberian Registry is not in Monrovia, Liberia. It's actually outside of Dulles Airport in Washington, D.C. It's been there since 1948 in the United States. The Liberian Registry is the largest registry in the world. They have 17% of the ships registered around the world. Panama comes in second at 14, Marshall Islands at 11. And it's important to note that these are open registries. These are not flags of convenience. I use the terms very carefully because lots of times people want to call registries flags of conveniences. And to be clear, back in the 60s and 70s, when there was a lot of problem with registries out there, it was bad. There were bad periods of time. Liberia was one of the ones that had a lot of issues at the time. But through a series of accidents, we've seen reforms and changes since then because of things like MARPOL, the Marine Pollution Act, which comes out of the Torrey Canyon disaster, and a variety of other issues. We've seen the registries really clean up. I should note that not only did I go up to the Liberian Registry and have given our talk, but I then sat down with the the senior vice presidents and vice presidents of all their departments, and they gave me a 3-hour briefing on what they do. And I'm going to do a separate video on it. One of the topics that we talked about almost from the very beginning was how the Liberian Registry was purging itself of ships, particularly these shadow fleet, dark fleet vessels, on a common basis. And I think that is important to note. It's not just Panama, it's Liberia, it's a lot of nations that are doing it. It's one of the reasons why you'll see we're seeing this flocking to these new registries that are out there. Now, there's other entities out there that are tracking this, and I think it's important to note them. My good buddy Samir Madani over at Tanker Trackers is just published this list. It is their officially blacklisted tankers, lists 1,202 tankers that are under sanctions either by OFAC, by UANI, by the UN, by the EU, you name it. They have all of them listed here. It is an extensive database that you can track of ships that are under sanctions. You can download it. It's being updated on a regular basis. Then you have the Lloyd's List Sea Searcher. This is a great tool. Here you see 1,638 vessels that are under some sort of sanction, from yachts to super tankers out there listed. You can track them around the world. You can see what these sanctions are. But one of my best follows, again, I am not a very bright person. I really am not. I am smart by following smart people. And one of those I follow over on LinkedIn is Michelle Weiss-Bachmann. She is fantastic. Used to be over at Lloyd's List. She is now with Windward. She is an expert on this. This post from just 2 days ago on LinkedIn, very interesting development. An EU and UK sanctioned, falsely flagged, Benin-flagged Russian trading tanker appears to be deviating from the normal course of sailing through the English Channel. The tanker, the Blue, and others are using fraudulent registries that have no valid insurance or certificates of seaworthiness and safety. As a matter of fact, in the past 24 hours of this, she noted falsely flagged Aqua Alive and White Condor 1 had sailed through the channel amid some controversial statements by the Russian foreign intelligence that was foreshadowing that the UK is working with the Ukraine to deliberately orchestrate a dark fleet casualty oil spill to pressure Trump to impose secondary sanctions on Russia. That's a lot of gray zone operations right there. I will note that she has on here the link over to her blog on Windward. The most recent one is this: sanctioned, stateless, and falsely flagged tankers are testing Europe's resolve. Big issues on this. It is a big topic, and there's a lot of people looking at it. Other one I would argue is over here at Lloyd's List. This is Richard Mead. Estawatini wants to take on the fake ship registers by creating a real one. So one of these fake registries that was out there that was registering ships that was not a member of the International Maritime Organization was Estawatini. This is the old Swaziland. They had at least 7 vessels under their fake flag for a while. And matter of fact, the person behind that fake flag is now launching a new registry. This is through Laos. And he's basing it out of St. Martin, where he's registering these ships. These are registries that don't exist. It's a fake registry. Yeah, they're flying a flag, but there's no means of protecting and doing due diligence on the vessel. This is just to have a flag flying off the stern. And matter of fact, Richard had an earlier set of stories. This is back in mid-July, where he was talking about Mali, Mauritania, and Eritrea becoming the latest locations for this online maritime fraud. These issues are getting a lot of attention around the world. Unfortunately, we're not seeing it in the IMO where it needs to be. I want to come back to the end here and talk about why Panama is doing this now. So I'll take you back to the original story. This is the one that we started this off with. Panama Ship Registry will no longer accept the registration of oil tankers and bulk carriers that are more than 15 years old. Now, they're not purging ships that are older than 15 years off their books. And one of the things that we know is happening with the world fleet is it's getting older. It has grown from 19 years of age in general up to 21 years of age. So why is Panama purging 15-year-old ships from their registry? Well, we have a lot of issues that are at play here that are requiring ships to be much newer. We have obviously requirements on pollution and carbon neutrality. This is coming out from the International Maritime Organization. Again, Secretary General is Panamanian. And we just had a huge conference that's talking about escalating the push to go to zero carbon by 2050. And if you start purging 15-year-old ships out of the fleet right now, well, if you build a ship in 2025, that ship is going to be out by 2040. That means you've got to build a replacement vessel before the new regulations, the zero carbon emission, goes in effect in 2050. We know that the U.S. has targeted Chinese shipbuilding as a problem through their U.S. trade representative reports and through the proposed port fees. Matter of fact, a recent study out by Clarkson shows that just this first half of 2025, there was a massive reduction in the order book coming out of China from over 70% to just over 50%, with Korea being the huge beneficiary of this, a big spike in Korean shipbuilding. And I got to think that there's an issue here about trying to get more shipbuilding into China. I think China is one of the big players that operates behind the scenes here. China has a huge influence in Panama right now. There's discussions going on about the sale of ports in China. Chinese company CK Hutchinson owns a terminal on each end of the Panama Canal. There was a proposal to sell that to BlackRock and TIL and Mediterranean Shipping, but China is kind of holding off on that. And so when Panama announces that listen, we're purging older ships from the registry, if those ships don't have any place to go, if other registries are going to start shutting them out, if there's a cleanup of these flags of convenience, Eswanti, Mali, Eritrea, and the like out there, then you've got to start building new ships. And that is to the benefit of China, I would argue. China is going to benefit massively from that. Obviously being hurt by these calls to shift ship production out of China to other places. There is a lot going on behind the scenes. So we've got to be really, really careful. So there are a lot of factors that are at play here. The dark fleet is obviously one of the big ones. The main ship registries, Panama, Liberia, the Marshall Islands, are cognizant of having these sanctioned vessels in their fleets. They're purging them. But again, what you see is this rise of these new registries out there. Estawatini, Mali, Mauritania, Laos. Hey, we may see a Mercogliano registry out there soon. Who knows? Today's episode. If you did, hey, take a moment, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to be alerted about new videos as they come out. Leave a comment, share it across social media, and if you can, support the page. How do you do it? You hit the super thanks button down below or head on over to Patreon and become a monthly, yearly subscriber. Until our next video, Sal, signing off.